because even with her boss, I thought he was a pretty shitty editor. Because who edits contact after it's being printed, right? If you're reading the magazine now, you're editing it. I'm like, you're a pretty fucking shitty editor.
I love how you're like, this character's not good at his job. Get
I'd
that
be
guy
like,
out
what
of
the
here.
fuck is this? Thank you for listening to the closest thing to Siskel and Ebert in this decade. But I'm not going to say who's who. In this episode, we're talking movies. We're talking Mile and Kicks, starring Barbie Ferreira and directed by Chandler Levacks. Kris, are you sure? You may get oral gonorrhea.
Listen, man, we're talking about Montreal, which means we're talking about bagels and cigarettes. Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of How'd You Like That Movie? Kind of excited. We're going to talk about a Canadian independent film, The Mile and Kicks. We're going to be talking about Québécois via Toronto. Is it Toronto or Toronto or Toronto? Scott, take us away, my friend.
Yeah, if you don't know, the movie's technically about a 24-year-old music critic played by Barbie Ferreira, who moves from Ontario to Montreal to write a book, and she ends up getting romantically involved with two members of an indie band. Kris, this is technically a how-to to get a lot of Canada funding. Just just name a bunch of places, have some locations, and
have
much...
Jay Baruchel in it. Like he seems to be in like every Canadian independent film.
Well, this is also produced by Matt Johnson.
Who also just had a bunch of... He had his film Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, or whatever at the Canadian Screen Awards, right? Plus, he did Blackberry.
Yes. So, this is go-to. First takes, like, it's a fine movie. The thing I really liked about this is really, like, there's no real protagonist for me. Everybody's kind of a piece of shit. Like, because you look at everybody from the other person's perspective, and it grounded it more in reality for me, because everybody has their flaws, and you're not really rooting for just one person here. But I think it was well done. I think this is Chandler Levacks' first feature, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
Well, she did I Like Movies, which is her big feature that I believe, reviewed on this podcast.
I didn't review it. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
She's also done the film Roommates, which is on Netflix, which is part of the Happy Madison production company of Adam Sandler. She also has a TV show on Crave called My Dead Mom. She was just directors on those. But yeah, she's the writer behind I Like Movies from 2022. And obviously this film, Mile and Kicks.
All right.
Well, which is funny because this film has, I believe, a $4 million budget. And the film, and it's done 700,000 at the box office. But as Scott said, there's like, when you see the opening credits, it's like, it's telefilm, it's Ontario Creates, it's like all the fucking ways you can get money out of the government here in Canada. So I'm guessing that 4 million is like the total, and they probably had to come up with about $2 million worth of cash or whatever. But compare that to I Like Movies, which they did on a budget of $130 million. So, like,
wait, what?
Yeah, man. The I Like Movies, her production budget was $130 million. 130,000. 130,000.
But that's what I was gonna say. That seems way off here.
It's basically a Marvel movie. It's basically no. She had $130,000 budget, and now she had a $4 million budget. Which, I mean, if you look at the cast, like, you can see where that money went. You can also look at like the locations of shooting in Montreal.
I was gonna say, everything does look like it is like out in the wild, right? No, everything's filmed out there. Like even that like scene where, she's getting dropped off in front of Union. I'm like, oh, there's Union fucking station. I'm like, I wonder how much that cost to fucking shut down Front Street.
Well, they probably they probably had a small crew there, and because I think you basically just see her and her mom show up, and then she gets on the bus, right? So it's not like you're not shooting in Union, you're shooting in front of Union. But yeah, exactly, right? Like I Like Movies is essentially shot in a house and in a like old Blockbuster or something like that, right? So
Mhm.
much more contained. One thing I definitely want to talk about on this film is the aesthetic. So it basically takes place in 2011 Montreal, right? So you got all that kind of fashion, but the cinematographer Jeremy Cox. So he actually is the cinematographer on Backrooms, which is the indie horror film that's like kind of blowing up right now.
Mhm.
He also was second unit DOP on The Monkey and Longlegs, which is actually I think his tie into Backrooms because not Anthony Perkins, what's his son's name? Perkins. Anyway, he
Anthony
is well. Anthony Perkins is his dad.
Osgood.
Osgood Perkins. Osgood Perkins is a executive producer on Backrooms, but I know obviously he's the writer director behind Longlegs and the Monkey. So I think that's the tie-in with Jeremy Cox. But you watch this film, and even the poster, like you can see if you're watching this, you can see the poster behind me. Um, it has that indie garage vibe to it. And like if you're into music, you know exactly what I'm saying by those words. And when you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. It like it's muted. It looks like it's shot on film. He does some really cool stuff at like party scenes where there's like a really intense light on Barbie Ferreira's character Grace, and so it kind of gives you the vibe of like a camera phone, like the way it's
Mhm.
like super super aggressive lighting. Yeah, man, it's like a gorgeous film to watch. And I mean, it's a very kind of indie music. There's a lot of like music from Canadian indie bands or like music specifically done in that style. My issue with this film is kind of the same issue I had with I Like Movies is that it runs out of steam. And with I Like Movies, I think it was like a 99-minute film. And I'm like, ugh, you probably could have cut this sucker down to about 85 minutes to keep your pacing up. But you're a little more forgiving in the 90-minute kind of space. This film is over 2 hours, right? So it's like, oh, actually, no, it's just under 2 hours. I've got 112 minutes here. Is that correct?
I thought it was an hour and 51,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
including
yeah.
credits. Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. Man, I'm all over the place today. Um, and I think it should have been about 90 minutes because like it's in that with this actually it's less in the third act. I actually maybe you know what, now that I think about it, I think with both her films, it's she has no issue ending films. Some directors have that problem, right? Like they just can't seem to end it. She's got good anchored endings. There's just a bit of like stuff in the center in that second act around your midpoint where I feel like you either need to get to your midpoint faster or like once you do your kind of like because a film will often make a like kind of a drastic change around the midpoint where the story almost like switches into a different direction. Maybe you need to get out of that midpoint faster and get on with it. Like there's scenes that just feel like a little more trimming. Like maybe you don't need to see an artist play their whole fucking song. Like just tighten things up a bit because again, I kind of started to get a bit bored.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. And that was kind of my like feeling with it as well. It was just really like trying to get through the through line, and then I didn't think they needed the when it kind of disjoints and goes back to kind of the beginning, and you find the interaction between Barbie
Like her and her
Ferreira and
boss.
yeah, like because you had that Teams message, and then it was like, come meet me in my office, talk about it, and then she's off to Montreal, and
Yeah.
then like literally like an hour and 30 minutes, hour 40 minutes later, you're going back to it where you're just like, I didn't think you needed that personally, because I think that would have trimmed it down. But also having the kind of I don't know. I just felt weirded by the interaction they kind of had once they confronted each other in the present.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was like,
You
I
mean her
didn't
and her
like,
boss? Her and
yeah,
her boss?
yeah, her and
Yeah.
her boss. It'd be like, yeah, I didn't like that. And then he was like, you're the one that came crying to me, kind of thing. And I'm like, I don't like, to me, I was just like, why even put that stuff in? Like,
So some of this. So first off, actually, I'll address that. I think that that scene where you get to see what happened before she went to Montreal. I think that could have been faster. I think you could have
mhm,
gone from the team's message. So that retracts you as the audience. You're like, oh, okay, we're back in the past. I know where we are. Move right into the what happens, and then right back to Montreal. Like so, like it's more of like a flash in her mind. So it's like bang, boom, 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 back to Montreal. Then the audience is caught up, but it doesn't. You don't need to play all that out, right? Like you don't
yeah.
need all that. All you need to know is, oh, that's what happened. Understand why you're in Montreal. Bing, bang, bada boom.
Well, yeah, yeah. Because even with her boss, I thought he was a pretty shitty editor. Because who edits contact after it's being printed, right? If you're reading the magazine now, you're editing it. I'm like, you're a pretty fucking shitty editor.
I love how you're like, this character's not good at his job. Get
I'd
that
be
guy
like,
out of
what the
here.
fuck is this?
Listen, and to everybody listening, let's be honest. Like this film is loosely based on Chandler Levacks' own life. Like she worked for Spin Magazine. She did drop out of like U of T to be a writer and stuff like that. So, like some of this is just like her experience, like her lived experience,
Mhm.
and we're two like middle-aged dudes here talking about like ladies and their experiences in their youth. So maybe we're missing some stuff because of that, which is totally possible. But otherwise, like I don't think there's a ton to say about this film. Like I said, it's got a really cool indie vibe. If it's playing at a rep theater, yeah, sure, check it out. Like obviously, I always like to push people to go see stuff in the theater, but I rented it on on Amazon. It was like $6. It was kind of nice to be watching it at home. I'll be honest. Again, there's great cinematography. Like I really like the DOP's work on this, and I look forward to seeing more of his stuff because he's definitely got like a really nice artistic flair to it. And oh, actually, hold on. I love that Barbie Ferreira. Obviously, people know her from Euphoria is like a big one. We also have reviewed two of her films, House of Spoils, which was bleh, and Bob Tavino Likes It, which is actually a really sweet film. She also just is in the new Faces of Death. Have you seen Faces of Death, Scott?
Not yet. It is on my to watch list because I think it's available to rent now.
Yeah, I mean, both Serena Whitney and Mark Palermo over at Movies and Chaos, they enjoyed it, I believe. It is what it is, you know what I mean? But I actually really like that Barbie Ferreira is kind of maybe she's gonna just do this like indie run, right? Like whether that's because that's what she's being offered or that's what she's choosing. I really like her as an indie actor. And one of the criticisms I had about House of Spoils is I was like, man, her fucking acting is shit in this. And I probably preface that with, is this the script and direction or is this her? I've seen her now in enough stuff. It was the script and the direction. She is a totally capable actor. She's great. And like she's super endearing in this film. And she's also super annoying and shitty when, like you said, Scott, like the character is all of those things, right? So
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, to or go back, like I that's what I appreciated with the writing of it. Like, not everybody like it was more grounded, more human kind of characterization. That it's like everyday people, right? Like
mhm.
everybody has flaws, right? Like you're thinking she is like, the protagonist, but then when you see her through her roommate's eyes, you're like, yeah, she is kind of shitty, right? She's not
Yo, when
paying
she keeps
rent,
eating her
eating on her
fucking
bread.
food, hey, you stop eating my bread. So the other thing is it takes place in Montreal, and yes, Montreal is a bilingual city, but it is still a French Canadian city. I actually wanted more Québécois. Like I wanted more French Canadian. Like yes, there's the roommate and the roommate's boyfriend who's in the band, but I mean, for a film shot in Montreal and set in Montreal, like there needs to be more French. Like I want more French. Yes, you got to read subtitles. but it is a French city, and it deserves to have the French language showcased a little bit more. But that said, I mean, Chandler's not French Canadian. She's actually I guess she was like born in Toronto. She lived in Brantford, which is near where we record, and then she moved back to Toronto. So she's very much an Anglo. And this film's original title, I believe, was originally like Anglo or like The Anglo before getting its name switch. So it really is like Montreal through the eyes of someone from Ontario, which to me, would mean there's even more French because when you are in Quebec, and I'm actually going to Montreal this weekend coming up to watch a soccer game, is like you can feel the French language around you. Even though that they can move in and out of that space, like you are very clearly not in Ontario anymore. Like I love Quebec. I think it's such an important province to the country of Canada because it is just it's discount Europe, as we often call it. You know what I mean? Like I've been to Europe, I've been to Quebec, and they're very similar. You know?
Yeah, it's one of the places we love going to, especially downtown, old Montreal, old Quebec, because you do feel like you are in Europe. But yeah, and that was the thing. Like, just to cut a joke here, like, how much funding do you think they got from Ontario Creates to have just the scene of her leaving Ontario and giving it a middle finger? Like, how much do you think they got for that?
Well, it depends on when they did their post production. I know you're making a joke, but like they may have done the post production in Toronto and then used their tax credits or whatever, right? So,
Yeah.
also like one of the bigger French Canadian actors in this is Juliette Gariépy. She plays Madeline. And the reason I want to bring her up, though, is so she's in a kind of like a hit film, Québécois film called Les Chambres, rouges, the Red Rooms. But she's also in a film that we covered. We actually covered the original 70s version, which is like a sexy comedy, sexy rom-com called Deux femmes, or the Two Women of Gold, or Two Women Made in Gold, depending on how you want to say it. And in that film, Scott, she played the woman having the affair with the guy, and she's like, "I like you because you're ugly."
Yeah.
Because ugly men, they hold on so tight, you know. You know what that's like. You know what that's like.
Fuck you. That's because you hold on tight to me. That's the thing. But yeah.
So do you recommend it? What's your takeaway on this
I
film?
think like I think and this is not to sound like bad, but for Canadian film, first a little can, and that's the thing. We're doing can, and it ain't even July 1st yet, right? So yeah, I think to showcase Canadian art is important, especially here on our podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe because we do that. But it's fun. It's a good movie. Like just to see how like even the guy of Chevy, Stanley Simons' character, like how like fucking out of it and piece of shit this guy is. You just like, okay, I can see why so many people are attracted to him and why he's the worst guy in Montreal.
Yeah, which is funny because he's Australian. The actor's Australian. And he plays one of the guys from Alberta. I think they're from like Edmonton or something like that. Which is interesting because back to what I said at the very beginning of the show, there's like kind of three ways I hear Toronto said, right? So there's Toronto, which is how Chevy and his friends say it. Then there's Toronto, which is usually how people in Toronto or outside of Toronto say it. And then there's like my dad who says like Toronto. Does anybody still say that? Stanley Simons was also in the Iron Claw. He plays the youngest brother in that.
Oh yes.
Yeah, man. So we reviewed the Broken Social Scene documentary on this on the show, and if you've seen that documentary, that aesthetic is what this is because they're kind of in those same time periods, like within 4 or 5 years. And so there's just like yeah, man, this is like an indie aesthetic. And I can't really put my finger on it. Maybe if you're one of our listeners and you're smarter than I am, which you probably are, you can let me know like what that is. But this feels like a music film. And I don't mean a musical film. I mean like a film about music. Like it just has that vibe, even though that's kind of like, yeah, she's a music critic and yeah, the guy's in a band, but like he could have been a painter and she could have just been a writer. I mean, she is there writing a book on Alanis Morissette, another, massive Canadian artist. Scott, do you have anything else? Because our colleague Justine Smith, who is a fantastic writer from Quebec, she writes for CultMontreal. She also does other cool shit that we've talked about on her show. She has written a bunch of articles about this film, and I am going to want to leave on a fairly long quote from her. Also, I'm going to pop a bunch of her articles in our show notes. Follow her. She has a Patreon and stuff as well for all her writing. But she's a really great film critic and is a really good entry point to Québécois cinema. Yeah. So Scott, do you have anything else before I leave with Justine's quote?
I'm super interested in the quote you're actually going to do.
Okay. For many Montrealers, Mile End Kicks will strike a nerve, and not the one quite intended by the filmmaker. Ultimately, it is a movie from Toronto, for Toronto, and in that sense, it's the best it possibly could be. And that's Justine Smith writing for CultMontreal. There is a longer article that I will have in our show notes.
And that is our wrap for the day. Please like and subscribe to this podcast. Tell your friends. If you want to get a hold of us, reach us at the www.howdyoulikethatmovie.com.
So it's called Mile End Kicks, and I just realized I didn't explain where the mile ended. So the Mile End is an area of Montreal that is bound by Mount Royal Avenue in the south, Van Horn Avenue in the north, Hutchinson Street in the west, and Saint Denis Street in the east. Also, two of Montreal's most famous bagel shops are listed in the Mile End. So if you're actually wondering why it's called the Mile End Kicks, it is explained in the film a bit, but that is where it is. It is a super kind of hip area of Montreal, sort of like the Kreuzberg in Berlin. Production by Rod Shaver, Vader Monkey Productions.